Good afternoon. This is Mr. Woodward here. I am creating a screencast here to give you a little bit of a example on what to work on today, and a little one or two little tips. So we know that our presentation is based on how the past creates our present. That's the goal of this. So cause and effect is the skill that we're working on. So whether you're talking about yourself, your history in certain sections, or you're talking about your historical event that you're choosing, you're talking about cause and effects. Okay, what event happened in your life, whether it was meeting somebody who was influential in your life, or a hobby you started, or an event in your life, good or bad, that contributed to you being who you are today. That is much like the event that you choose in history creates who you are. So that's kind of the goal. So if you need to reread this section of the requirements in your handout that everybody has on Google Classroom to kind of get you aligned better with what you're supposed to do. So I've created a little tutorial here that I've also made available to you so you can walk through, read it, and get an idea on what goes in each section using the organizer. Okay, so I'm going to go here to an example speech that I created for you guys to give you an idea of what you need to do in each section. So I have my introduction here. You need to have a story, a quote, a fact, or a question. I've chosen to use a Forrest Gump quote here. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. We can learn a lot from these words from Forrest Gump. It is often difficult to predict what events or people will impact our future and in what ways, but I've learned that my past has played a significant role in making me the persistent, hardworking, responsible, and compassionate person I am today. So what I've done here is I've created a theme of what my speech is going to be about. It's about you never know what life's going to throw at you. Henceforth my quote on Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates. But I've also hit home the point that whatever happens in our life, it impacts us and makes us who we are. And in my case, I'm in the theme of my speech, I'm going to be discussing my persistence, hard work, responsibility, and compassionate character traits that I gained through a specific event. And you'll see my event that I begin talking about is down here in section 4. Section 4. I talk about growing up on a farm and how that event and the events that happened there led to me being or having those characteristic traits. Okay. So the intro, that defines the theme of your speech. So it should look something like this based on your own experiences. My transitions, I've given examples of transitions from each section. So here's how I move from the intro of my speech into talking about my ethnic background, or where I come from, where my family comes from. So I've typed in right here my transition from this to this. Sometimes it helps us to go all the way back to the beginning and trace our family's history to the beginnings, because understanding our roots can help us understand who we are today. So I went from talking about, my characteristics to let's take a journey back to my roots, my ethnicity. And then I talk about my family immigrating from British Columbia, my grandfather being a horse trainer and a farmer, and how when they came to Oregon. So all that's in that little short blurb right there. Then I got to transition from my ethnic background into talking about influential people in my life. So I got to make another transition for that. So I say, in addition to our genealogical history, we also have the values of our parents, loved ones, and mentors we encounter in life. So that's how I move from that transition from my ethnicity into influential people. And then I talk about the lessons I've learned from my father and lessons I've learned from my mother, and a little bit of how I learned to deal with conflict because of the influences that they have taught me. Now you can use anybody in your history. I've just chosen to use my mom and my dad in that example. Then again, I have to transition from influential people in my life to events that contribute to me who I am in the present. And I really focused here on my years growing up on a farm, because those are the ones that really played a large role in making me who I am today and what I see as my most valiant characteristics of my values and character. So that's what I talk about here in this little blurb. Then I transition into just talking about my hobbies, and I've chosen to use some of my values and traits and character to apply to the hobby of playing football. So I'm kind of intertwining my characteristics into something that I grew to love, which was playing football. So my transition reads, I would also say that the character traits I developed during my early years on the farm contributed heavily to the type of athlete I would become. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about my career as an athlete, and obviously I need some punctuation in here and but this is my draft. So I talk about how those skills were applied to a hobby of mine. And then here's the one that a lot of people are concerned about. How do I implement my historical event into this speech where I'm talking about myself? So this is, if you read this transition, you'll see how we're really talking about how events contribute to who we are today, in a sense of not just ourselves, but now we're going to say that about our country. So you don't need to relate your historical event to who you are, you just need to relate it to the concept of cause and effect. So I transition from my event to say, or my hobbies or whatever was before that, by saying, like myself, our country has also overcome many challenges in its 238 years of existence in order to become what it is today. Many events reveal how even the most influential in our society can often go down a rough path. Okay? So I transition into talking about Watergate and how Richard Nixon was found, guilty of being part of a conspiracy to burglarize the Democratic National Party. As a result of that, he was impeached and he had to resign from the presidency in kind of shame. And because of that, the effect is that our country has changed and has always been a little weary of the power of our president in his position, and skeptical more so than they were before Nixon was president. So that was the effect of that particular event. Again, proving that, this event caused our nation to change in this particular way. So you need to do the same by researching your event. And this is roughly what I would like to see in the amount of description. So you can go through and make your piece like that. Then in section 7 is the summary. The summary is very simple. You are just kind of putting it all together in a quick summation. So I'm going to hit here on, in summary, it's really true. Life is like a box of chocolates, going back to my original quote. And every piece is like an event. These events can be good or bad, but they all contribute to who we are presently. Okay, I'm talking about past, present, future. Okay. For me, growing up on a farm was good, so I'm referencing my farm event here, because it was essential to the development of my character and guided me to where I am today. For Nixon, sorry for the interruption. For Nixon, I just mentioned him again. For Nixon, his true character was exposed, leaving many Americans with a damaged trust for the office of the presidency. And then I finish with this last thought. Only our history can help us understand who we truly are and who we might become in the future. And that's it. That concludes my speech. Now, every section of this speech needs to also have some sort of accompanying slide to it. So for my title of my presentation, I just simply put a title to it. The past is the key to our present, and it unlocks our future. I just made that up to kind of give it a catchy title, and I put the DeLorean from Back to the Future on here to spice up the title page. Okay, but then my intro that had to do with Forrest Gump, I put that up there. So if I was giving the presentation, I would look at this and it would guide me. Okay, I need to give my introduction. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. I might have also put some bullet points over here about persistence, hard work, dedication, those character traits that I want to make sure I capture in what I gathered from some of the events in my life. Just whatever you need to help you tell the story by using the slide as a visual aid, that's what you need to put in there. And obviously some of the other slides might include pictures of you or accomplishments or family or friends or events. All of that stuff dresses up the presentation and makes it look nicer. Okay, so hopefully that helps you. Try to get some good work done on this today, and we will discuss this when I come back tomorrow.